webinar. I hope we are doing well. So I welcome everyone to this webinar about copywriting 101. Copywriting 101 beyond words and the psychology of copies. Understand? So I'm very happy to have every one of us here once again. And copywriting entails writing for sales. I don't know if you might have had a knowledge about what copywriting entails. Copywriting and content writing, and copywriting entails writing to persuade, or writing to drive sales. While content writing is just writing to educate or writing to inform. So that's one of the differences between content writing and copywriting. So as you can see, this webinar, the theme for this webinar is beyond words, the psychology of copies. You understand? So there's a kind of psychology. There's a kind of psychology that you need to know about writing your copies, especially if you're writing for companies. You understand? Writing copies for companies, and there's some psychology you need to know. Is of emotions. People purchase things through emotions. Understand? So emotions is one of the psychology you need to note through while drafting out your copies. So that's just a brief introduction to what to expect tonight, and I'll quickly introduce my other speaker. Her name is Anita. So her name is Anita Moody, and please, young superior, can you just proceed? Okay, thank you very much. So her name is Anita Moody. She's a copywriter and a direct response copywriter, and also she's a script writer too. So, and one thing you need to notice that she's very good at what she does. She's currently working with Precious Crafts Ltd, and she has acquired a lot of understanding and knowledge about copywriting, and she's also earning from it. Understand? She's earning a lot from it. So, and you should note one thing. One thing you need to notice that she's an expert, and we have to we are here to learn from her to know about copywriting, and for her to share her experience about what copywriting entails and the psychology of copies. So I hope we are all prepared to receive Anita Moody. And please just throw some emojis around as I welcome Anita Moody, currently a copywriter at Precious Crafts Ltd. And just thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly grateful. It's really an honor to be here. Good evening, Miss Precious. Good evening, every other person. It's an honor to be here, and I do not take it for granted.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Anita.
Yes, ma.
So just tell us your experience about copywriting and the psychology you think we know that copywriting, drafting out copies, it is beyond words. You understand? So just tell us some processes you pass through in drafting out your copies, and the psychology behind it, and what you want us to learn about copywriting in general.
Okay, so basically I started learning copywriting somewhere around June, July last year. I took the course for about 3 months, and I will not say it has been easy, to be honest. It has not been easy. I've learned a lot along the line, and as per psychology and other aspects, these are like um, benchmarks or foundations that cannot be overlooked when learning copywriting or when applying copywriting. I personally do not see copywriting as solely about writing for products, writing for brands, and all of that. It's an inherent part of life because you learn a lot about human psychology, you learn a lot about how people respond, you learn a lot about certain trends, and you can how do I put it? Yeah, I won't say guess, but you can more or less uh, um, you know, how do I put this? How do I put this? I'm looking for a word to use. I don't want to use guess. You can um for instance, you have an inkling that okay, you don't know what will happen, but you can tell based on certain trends, okay, this should be the turnout, this should be the turnout, not just in writing but in life generally. I found that I learned to be much more patient with people personally, that is without writing and all. I learned to be much more patient with people. I learned to understand where they are talking from, because there are certain times, for instance, you're writing about a product or something. You don't just write about that product, you tend to do research on what your what the target audience, what their needs are and all. So you know you write wrapping your write up or whatever around their needs. So that's basically how it is, even with other aspects in life. And when some people begin to talk, or when some people begin to react in certain ways, you don't just go straight up and talk based on how they are reacting, but you tend to, okay, why is this person acting this way? Why is this person, I don't know if you get it, but copywriting is beyond just writing, but it's actually a skill that can be employed in every aspect of life. So my journey so far, it has not been easy, as I mentioned. I had a very strict mentor. She was extremely strict, but I believe that really helped me push beyond what I thought were my limits. And I'm not even up to a year as a copywriter, but I can say that there are many things I've achieved as a copywriter that some other older colleagues have not been able to achieve. Apart from my mentor being a really good one, and then the I actually did my homework. I really put my mind into it and all. It has not really been easy, especially when I was trying to get a job, trying to monetize. It wasn't easy, but when I discovered certain secrets that I hope to share a bit later, um everything changed, and now it's just seamless.
That's very great. That's a great um introduction. Okay, so what do you think copywriting is? Let's just start with that for now. What do you think copywriting is? What is copywriting, and how can people venture into copywriting? Seems the network is very bad. So, what is copywriting, and how can people venture into copywriting?
Sorry, I'm not getting any feedback. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. I said, okay, so what is copywriting, and how do you think people can venture into copywriting? Can you hear me?
Not really.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, okay. I said, what is copywriting, and how do you think people can venture into copywriting?
Okay, so basically, copywriting is the art of writing in a persuasive manner. You know, writing for products, writing for brands, writing for anything at all, but to elicit a response, to get people to do things, to get people to probably sign up for something, buy a product, consider something, drop their emails. As far as it has, an end goal or a need attached to their writing, that's basically is copywriting, whether it's attached to a brand or a company, a product, a school. As far as it's to get the reader to take a specific action, that's
Mhm.
basically copywriting, persuasive writing, right? And how people can venture into copywriting. Well, there are two major ways. First off, finding someone that has gotten experience as a copywriter and submitting in mentorship to that person,
Mhm.
learning, getting the person to teach you, getting materials and all. So
Mhm.
that way is faster. But if at all there's, you don't have access to that, there are many materials online on YouTube, many groups you can join on Facebook, many communities to join and all. And once you have access to these materials, you can start from scratch. Although with this method, you beat around the bush a lot, because
Yes.
once you have a mentor, there are specific mistakes,
Mhm.
specific things you will not do. There are specific he or she will basically guide you, and the journey will be shorter for you, basically. So that's the two major ways to venture into copywriting.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. So I will just go straight to the questions that were asked, through the
Okay.
Google form. So
Okay.
someone asked that what are the strategies to skill up, in copywriting?
Okay, so I believe you are already a copywriter and you want to skill up. Well, first of all, practice makes perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Practicing makes perfect. The more you keep at something, the better you become. And I find the people falling into the trap of trying to wait for a client to show up, and then you take
Mm-hmm.
it, okay, this I'm going to use this to learn. Most of the times it's not that way. You would have to do things yourself. You'd have to, okay, today I'm choosing to work on an email, tomorrow I'm choosing to work on a video sales later. Doing it yourself, practicing whether or not there's a client, actually helps you skill up. That's one. Then trying learn, you cannot, learning never ends. And the
Mm-hmm.
way copywriting was 50 years ago is not the way it is presently, and it's also not the way it will be in the next 50 years. So
Mm-hmm.
getting as much materials as possible, relevant materials, because there's a lot of trash out there
Cash
saying the
out.
same
Yeah.
thing and all. So getting a lot of relevant materials and then learning, ensuring you are, doing your homework and all, helps you scale up as a copywriter. And then I okay, sharpening your editing skills is very important. I see that there are good copywriters, but a lot of them have not really done so much on editing and punctuation, and it's one very important aspect of a copy, because you just you cannot overlook it. Editing and punctuation, when you have well structured grammar, your punctuations and everything, when it's well structured in your copy, it just makes you stand out, rather than writing and then having to give it to an editor, to
Mm-hmm.
go over the stress. So it just makes you, it just adds to your skill set. So that's another way you can, get
Skill.
better as a, yeah, as a copywriter. And then check out your competitors,
Mm-hmm.
not that, probably other copywriters, other top copywriters, or maybe businesses, and try to see exactly what copywriting technique they use, and see if
Mm-hmm.
you can check out their weaknesses, their strengths, and see if there's something you can do to make it even better, to make their strengths even stronger, and to make their weaknesses not appear as weaknesses at all. When you practice in doing this, even if it's just a project for a week, you discover that over time, discover that you're pretty good already. So these are ways.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you so much for that, especially in the case of the editing part, where you have to
Yeah.
build up your editing skills. That's really touched me. You understand? So that's very good. So I will also try to talk about our next question now is how exactly does one go into go about copywriting? So that's the next question. How exactly is asking he or she is asking about a specific, ways someone can easily go into copywriting.
Okay, I really want to understand the question. Is this person already a copywriter or an aspiring copywriter?
Okay, you can answer in the place of aspiring copywriter and also in the place of he or she is already a copywriter.
Okay, so if this person is an aspiring writer, rather, as I said before, you would have to figure out how to learn copywriting. That's the first step. So you either get a mentor that is good and has results, because
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of people that say they are copywriters, but there's nothing to show for it. Good with results. So
Mm-hmm.
if no matter the price, you can, try to pay and then learn and stuff. But if you can't, you can also learn on your own. But this one will take a lot of resilience and discipline on your part as an aspiring copywriter. And then as a copywriter, there are specific templates, the basic templates. I mean, understanding your client base, understanding their needs, understanding their target audience. It's pretty difficult because we tend to forget that as a copywriter, you have a personality.
Mm-hmm.
And for instance, a client is bringing, bringing work for me, asking you to write something. It's very easy to want to be biased. You want
Mm-hmm.
to put your own input. You want to put how you see things, not with forgetting to keep in mind that what makes you a good copywriter is not how well you think you are good, but how satisfied your client is, how
Yes.
well your write up, provide solutions to the client base. And even with all of this, it's not the main thing, it's how well that copy converts. So
Mm-hmm.
you can put in all the templates, put in all the essentials of a copy, the parts of a copy, and if the copy does not convert the audience, it's as good as not a good copy. So
Mm-hmm.
if you understand that, okay, my target audience resonates much more with pidgin, and they resonate much more when I do this and instead of this, and you do it in a way that will make them respond. That is what makes you a good copywriter. And these are things to keep in mind when you want to, do copywriting.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So my next question is what about the place of storytelling? So storytelling is one
Yeah.
of psychology of copies. Understand?
Yeah. So
The place of storytelling. Can you just elaborate more on about storytelling?
okay.
Yeah.
Storytelling is as old as time itself, because um regardless of, I love to talk about personality a whole lot, because copywriting is, apart from research and the rest, it has to do a lot with human psychology. Regardless of a person's temperament or personality, nobody can resist a good story. You'd be walking on the street and you see people gather, the normal instinct is for you to, what's happening. So nobody can resist that kind of information. Now, there are, I'll go back to psychology and personality stuff, because as copywriters, we discovered that some copywriters are better with storytelling, infusing storytelling into the copy. It almost comes as a natural,
Mm-hmm.
it just comes naturally in infusing storytelling into their copy, while others find it pretty difficult to
Mm-hmm.
infuse storytelling. If you're in the class of people that find it difficult to infuse storytelling, there are different storytelling frameworks you can look up and learn and see which one better suits your personality, which one you can, do better with. Now, even the people that are naturally talented in knowing how to just infuse a story into copywriting require skills.
Mm-hmm.
There's something my mentor told me, you don't have to be a talented born writer to be a good copywriter, because even a dumb ass, permit me to use that word, can learn copywriting as far as you do the necessary things. You put in work, you practice, there's something called A and B testing. You try it in this form, you try it in this form, you see which one converts better, you tell it in this way. Copywriting is not something you get in a day. It's not something you become successful with in a day. You would have recorded a lot of failures that you learn from to finally become successful. So storytelling is an important aspect of copywriting, because there is no human that can resist a story. For instance, I came across an ad today. They were trying to advertise sanitary pads, and it was very awkward because the way they even did it was, there's no way you would have been able to tell from the beginning. Her coach also was in the boat, in the ship, and she was water diving or something like that, still connected to the ship, and there was a shark, and she was not in the boat, a big ship or something. And then she was giving in, she was going to sink till she sat on the water, and then in the video her pad soaked in the whole ocean. It doesn't make sense, it's really funny, but
That's
they were just trying
just
to advertise sanitary pads. Do you understand? So when that kind of thing is catchy, rather than
mhm,
just saying this and this and this is the sanitary pad, you should get it or stuff. When you infuse storytelling, there's a way it lays an imprint in the minds of the people. They may not remember your product, but they will remember your
mhm,
story. Once they remember your
yeah,
story, it will tell them to your product. So as a
mhm,
copywriter, is an important aspect of copywriting you need to learn, to infuse storytelling. Whether or not you're a natural,
mhm.
born storyteller, you can learn it.
Thank you so much for that. That's very powerful. That's very great. So my next question now is okay, how do you now infuse storytelling in your copies? There are some copies that they will have a limit word count or something, probably because of the web
Yeah.
pages. You understand? So how
Mm,
will you be able to insert storytelling in your copies? And it won't take a lot of time. You understand?
mm.
Like it won't take a lot of space, and you understand, just be brief about it. How will you be able to do it?
Okay, so as I said earlier, there are different storytelling frameworks. As a copywriter, you can employ, you can learn, and see which one best suits your copy. And I believe most of us here are Christians. You might have gone to church, and during testimony time, the pastor, because of time, we want to regulate the time, and he'll be like, once I was blind, now I can see. As far as the storytelling, no matter how short or long it is, the people, as far as you're a human being, people will be there to listen, regardless of the kind of storytelling framework you decide to use. So I do not think it should be really tricky, especially as how if it has to do with word count. For instance, you can use the either framework to just craft a narrative regarding a need or a problem or something. You can make the before, then the moment they started to use the solution you're offering, and then uh, um, the products of what happened after they used the product, or if they don't use the product. Like, there are many ways to craft it. All you need to do is to figure out, as I said earlier, there are many storytelling techniques, frameworks. You just
Mhm.
figure out which one does
Mm,
better with a short form copy, video copy, jingle, and the likes. Because you cannot use one storytelling framework for diverse kinds of copies, it will not work.
Mm. Thank you
Yes.
very much for that. So, what about the roles of emotions now? The roles of
Mm.
emotion in copies.
Okay, so emotions play a large role in copywriting because you're not talking to robots, you're not talking to zombies, you are talking to human beings
Mm-hmm.
that have fear, lust, greed, you know, pain, anger. So the role of emotion is not just to um downplay any kind of emotion or infuse any kind of emotion. You must first of all understand your target audience, what their needs are, and what emotions they are likely to exhibit, or what
Mm-hmm.
emotions they have towards a specific problem, a specific need, and then you craft your narrative around their emotions, not how you feel about the product, not to your own emotions towards your clients, but their emotions and how they will respond to it. There are specific times they have objections. Human beings are basically like what gives us a personality or an emotion at certain points in time are experiences we've had. So for instance, you're writing to plump women, trying to give them a product. Okay, once you use this tool or once you take on this gym program in next 2 3 weeks you would have lost weight or so. You're not just going to sell to them. Copywriting should be a genuine art, not just an art to make money, not just an art to reach out to people, but when you do it with the mindset of helping, even if you are just writing, even if you are trying to, please or satisfy your clients, there's a way that genuineness plays into the copy and it becomes really unique, especially
Yeah.
when you understand, okay, can I put myself in the shoes of my target audience? What is she feeling? How is she feeling when people look at her this way? How does she feel? How would she feel when she finally gets rid of this problem? How does she
Mhm.
feel if she has an objection? How does she feel if she meets a glitch? So putting yourself in the shoes of that person when you understand their needs just helps you flow with their emotions and infuse it in your copy.
Mm. Thank you so much about that. So when you were talking, I just remembered something now.
Okay.
What if in the place of using ChatGPT now to
Hmm.
generate content? So if you are using ChatGPT and you talked about genuineness, like
Hmm.
genuine with your content, do you think that ChatGPT will be able to draft a content that is very genuine and majorly that ChatGPT does not express emotions sometimes?
True.
It is just so bland and you get. So what if in the place of using ChatGPT, how can you understand as a writer? ChatGPT is there, you are there. So how do you manage both together?
Okay, so first of all, we must understand the role of ChatGPT. ChatGPT or other AI tools are not the writers, they are assistants. So
Mm-hmm.
they are not to replace your creativity, they are not to replace your research, they are not to replace you, they are to help you. So that
Yeah.
is why most of the time we try to prompt them as much as possible to narrow their responses to be close enough to what we are looking for. So it will be unreasonable to expect that ChatGPT gives you what you're looking for. They are assistants. Once you've put in the prompt, as much as possible, try to humanize it. When you get it, that's where the place of editing comes. You take out phrases that are not necessary. You take out all those normally ChatGPT associated words and infuse it with your own touch, your own uniqueness. What makes you a copywriter, a good copywriter, is how much of the audience you can appeal to and cause them to convert. And obviously, AI tools cannot do that. That's why copywriting is a skill that cannot be replaced by AI tools because it does not have a mind of its own, and it does not understand the human emotions. In fact, everything it knows was programmed by a human, which who is limited, by the way. And people are evolving every single day. People, trends are changing. When it 20 years ago, a 4-year-old child was actually a child, but in our day, a 4-year-old child is something else. So
Mhm.
people are changing, trends are changing, and you cannot place limits on ChatGPT. Keep in mind, I'm not saying don't use AI tools. Of course, they are assistants, they are here to make our work easier, but keep in mind that they are not replacing your creativity. In fact, the point if you reach a point where AI tools are replacing your creativity, then I think you should question your expertise.
Mhm. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you so much for that. AI tools cannot actually replace, content writers and even copywriters too. So, thank you so much for that. So, in the place of writing for a particular landing page, probably a home
Okay.
page or a
Okay.
particular name. So,
Mm-hmm.
how do you come up with the write up for a home page? How do you come up with the write up for a home page and other web pages? Understand?
Okay.
Just copywriter, you are writing for a company and they want to
Yeah.
design the website, so you have
Right.
great copies for the website. So how do you come up
Okay.
with your home page, draft out, all those kind of things as a
Okay.
copywriter?
Okay, in this case, where a lot of clients, or focus on the clients here, get it wrong, is that they feel, okay, since I've reached out to a copywriter, the
Mhm.
copywriter is supposed to know everything. As far as okay, I just give you, I have a housing, agency, and I wanted to write a website for it. It's almost impossible. In fact, the client in this case does more of the work, because
Mhm.
you would have to sit with the client and
Things.
prompt the client as much as possible to give you in fact, if she can over deliver on information, because it is based on that information you will gather and then infuse direct response. Direct response is when it is a form of writing to elicit that, you write persuasively in such a way that as far as your visitors hit this landing page or hit this home page, they will want to check you out, they will want to perform. And also, websites to me is like one of the simplest types of copy to write, because you are not doing so much work. Your work is to assemble this information you get from the client in a way that the transitions are smooth, and add persuasion and all to it, so that it becomes very intriguing when people randomly visit the website. So, for a landing page, for a home page, you have to
Mhm.
prompt your client as much as possible to get enough information and improve on the information, because you
Mhm.
cannot, your clients may not be tech savvy or copywriting savvy,
Mhm.
and there are instances your clients may not even know what he or she wants, or what
More.
he or she wants to convey. Right? And this
Mhm.
is where psychology comes in. Okay, this is a product. What do you think is the most likely a reason your client will want this kind of writing for this kind of product? So you have it at the back of your mind. So even if your client may not know what he or she wants, once he gives you at least a foundation, you can build on it, you can make it better, you can check the competitors websites, landing pages, check their
Mhm.
weaknesses, check the objections they did not rule out, and just infuse it in your own and make it even better. I believe it's one of the simplest form of copy.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Okay, and before we go, I will ask this question in place of clarity and simplicity now. In
Okay.
this of clarity, some copywriters try to draft out some jargons
Mm,
in sense that they're trying to prove some points, write big grammars, all those kind of things, and there are some jargons that are peculiar to different industries, like tech
true.
industries. They have jargons, medical industry, they have their own jargons. Now, in the place of simplicity and clarity now, and
Yes, ma'am.
the jargons, how do you try to try as much as possible to be cleared about a particular jargons? You understand? How
Okay.
do you?
Okay, so first of all, you have to apply balance because you cannot get rid of the jargons in the name of being simple and concise and straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have a wide array of audience. There are many people that are learned that need that product, but there are many people that are not learned or partly learned that also needs that product. So you have to learn to write in such a way that a 12-year-old can
Mm-hmm.
understand, yet a
Understand?
professor will not find insulting. And at this point, you have to create a balance. You have to strike a balance, ensure that one is not superimposing the other. So, for instance, you're writing on a medical product, and then you have to use some medical terms. Maybe you're writing on cancer, different kinds of cancer, and then you just go straight to the point. Okay, let's say leukemia, which is cancer of the blood. So instead of just writing leukemia, you can write leukemia, then infuse your punctuation, a dash or a hyphen, or you put it in a
Mm-hmm.
bracket, cancer of the blood. So a professor knows that this is what you're talking about, and a
Mm-hmm.
layman that doesn't, have any business with the medical field still understands that it's the cancer of the blood. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just to balance these things and ensure that you don't overuse the jargons.
Mm-hmm.
Including jargons in a copy is not what makes it sell, because there's a way you can write in such a way your so if I'm reading what I don't understand, unless I'm pushing myself, which a lot of people will not push themselves, I will drop it. So you just need to learn to balance, put a synergy. When when go through any word, enter the mind of a 5-year-old, a 12-year-old, any word you feel they will not understand, ensure you simplify it. If there's no synonym to exchange the word, you can still put the word, then further explain the word. Now this is
Mm-hmm.
much more tricky in so if you're writing an article that has a limited word
Balance.
count, you would have to write as much information yet still simplify. You will now consider the target audience, because let's say, as I said, you're writing for a medical report or something. You don't expect that someone in sports comes to read. So you have it in mind that people that will be interested in this article would be professionals. Most of them will be professionals. So you
Mm-hmm.
can go ahead with writing the jargon and then simplifying it where you can, knowing that majority of the people I'm writing to are scholars. But then if it's the case where you can really explain, there's no word limit and all, then you can do that. So
All right. Thank you so much for that. That's very straightforward. Thank you very much. I will ask the question, the next question now is about writing for art. You are
oh,
writing about art. It is different from web pages now. So
true.
the copies are different. And art will be very straightforward, will be very
Yeah.
simple. And in fact, it will just have probably 5 words or 6 words or 7 words. So in writing art and in writing web pages, okay, what are the differences and how can you go about writing copies for art?
Okay, so first off, you would have to try to understand uh um the use of this thing. When you're writing a web page, to what end is it? And when you're writing an ad, to what end is it? You don't
Mhm,
have to write all the details of a landing page to the ad. The ad
mhm,
is just supposed to be a lead magnet. It's just supposed to be something that will captivate and prompt your audience to the landing page where it will be in more details.
mhm,
So you have to understand the rules of these things. You have to understand what is an ad meant for, what is a landing page meant for, what is a web page meant for. When you understand the rules of these things, you'll be able to write it better. So writing an ad, you may think it's just simple and clear, easy, come up with words, but it's actually tricky because you would have to sit. It's almost like writing a headline. You have to sit
mhm,
and really think on, okay, what exactly would I say that we intrigue this class of people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the role of an ad, to attract and convey the
Mm-hmm.
audience on the landing page, or to click or to buy something. Is just for persuasion, but in such a way that resonates strictly to that audience. Remember, you're not writing for everybody, you're not writing for the mass. If you write to everybody, you write to nobody, because everybody will have objections you cannot infuse in the copy. So when you streamline who your target audience are and the kind of ad you want to write, and then use their language, or just those few phrases that just get their attention, and then feature it into your writing, then there you have it.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you so much. And I have a lot of questions, but I'm just looking at the time to see if we can just try to, maximize the time. Okay, what about writing for companies? Probably you're writing for a marketing agency or you're writing directly for companies. What are the things you think that, okay, these are the skills you need to, to have to work for a marketing agency or perhaps for a company? Skills.
Okay, so the most important skill, apart from your normal copywriting skills and then the normal stuff you learn for copywriting, is experience. But then the tricky part is, how do you gain experience when you've not written for these companies and this marketing agency? It now goes back to you creating opportunities for yourself, you creating opportunities to practice, you creating opportunities grounds. If there are none, you check out maybe a company marketing or see their campaigns and see what other people have written for them and try to replicate it and make it better. So when eventually you get to write for a company, you understand. Because when you're writing for a company, when you're writing for a brand or a school or a hospital or stuff, their technicalities are different. Even there's a way you write with certain level of confidence, you'd be able to deliver. So there are times when, if you don't have that confidence yet, you will not be able to deliver. You would have to understand what the brand tone, or the tone the company uses to sell,
Mm-hmm.
the tone, the company's voice. You would have to learn how to get into their voice and speak like them. And the only way you can do this is by experience, when you've been able to successfully done it with other things. And remember that copywriting is more or less like becoming successful as a copywriter is more or less like a build up. It's like a ladder. So you don't jump to the topmost part without following specific
Mm-hmm.
steps. So when you're able to write an ad well, you now go to writing a landing page, you now go to you discover that over time your confidence is building up, and then
Mm-hmm.
you are trying out other things, even newer projects that will come. As far you know you're a good writer, you have experience, even if you've never written this before, once it comes and let me just know the target audience, what are
Yes.
your, you will just know how to factor it in somehow. So I think experience is very important. Experience and confidence levels.
Thank you so much for that. I think this will be my last question because time is already going.
Okay,
Okay. In the case of niches now, we have
yeah.
some between copywriters, technical copywriters, medical copywriters. So can you just expand more on the niches? Do I have to write about all these industries or just stick to one niche?
Well, I would say it depends on your own ambition as a person. There are many people that are not niched down to a particular industry, and there are others that are, niched down to probably two or three that are related. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And there are some that are niched down to strictly one. It depends on how far you want to go, even as a copywriter, because when you see all of these niches, they are just like, it's just like a door that opens into a completely new big world, and you discover more and more and more and more things in each of these niches. So it depends on how far you want to go as a copywriter, the kind of reputation you want to build as a copywriter. There's no way you'll be juggling, you are writing for cosmetics. you're writing for the medical aspect, and you're writing for a law firm, and expect to really deliver like someone that is niched down to only cosmetics, only
Because
law, and only, do you understand? So you have to determine, okay, what do I, am I just doing this for the money? Am I just doing this for work based, or do I really want to become a maestro in this, so that no matter the issues brought up, I will be able to solve
mm-hmm.
it. Do you understand? So it's not bad if you decide to do many things, but if I know that on Monday you're a pastor, on Tuesday you go to the club, on Wednesday you're a sportsman, and I need someone that is a pastor, I'll go to only the person that I know as only a pastor. So
Yeah,
it's
that's it. Thank you so much for that. Thank you very much. So we'll be entertaining questions from people that's that are in the group in the house. So any question? Do you have question? Do you have anything to say? Just to to direct it to our guest guest speaker. Any question in the house? And just signify you can raise your hands. Do you understand what you said about copywriting, the psychology? We talk about storytelling. We talk about emotions, using emotions, and we talk about ChatGPT and copywriters. And we talk about different niches you can venture into as a copywriter. So anything you want to ask. Okay, seems no one is saying anything. So that will be all for this webinar. We will thank you so much, Sister Anita, for that. That was very powerful. You are indeed a good copywriter. Yes, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We appreciate it from Precious Crafts Community. We are very grateful. And that will be all about this webinar. It's already 10. And by next month, we'll be talking about other aspects. We started this webinar since January, inviting different experts to talk about their ideas and their knowledge about their industry. So that will be all about this webinar. I hope you're enjoying this webinar, and I will send a link to the group. Just go there, comment on what you learned about this particular space. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. Thank you, Anita. I'm grateful. Thank you. And Olajumoke Charles, Fortress, and Dako. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a glorious, have a wonderful night. Bye.